While Pence has clout with conservatives nationally, he drew blank stares from those in front of him in Rhode Island, despite being a former Indiana governor. When he targeted Ohio Governor John Kasich, Republican, who opposed the bill, he sparked outrage for appearing to incorrectly link waiting times for disabled people in Ohio to the expansion of Medicaid. Kasich was newly furious about the hardball tactics. Other influential GOP critics of the bill, such as Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval, also would not budge, in turn keeping Senator Dean Heller, Republican Nevada, almost certainly in the no camp. This is a dramatic change to what most of us have reacted to within the last 4 years, Sandoval told reporters over the weekend. He likened the healthcare push to shaking an Etch-a-Sketch. Connecticut Governor Dan Malloy, Democrat, who attended the governor's conference, summed up the Democratic view in a Tuesday interview. If he's treating a Republican governor in Ohio that way, how would he treat me? Malloy singled out a private breakfast session Saturday in which administration officials sought to win over governors on the Senate legislation, as particularly problematic for the White House's sale. He said one official sought to discredit the Congressional Budget Office. Less than a minute later, another official cited a CBO statistic to defend his argument. It was heavy-handed. It was ham-handed, Malloy said of the administration's approach at the summit. The CBO had been set to release another report as soon as Monday on what the bill would do to insurance coverage levels, premium costs, and the federal budget deficit, but it ended up not being released. A CBO report on an earlier version of the legislation projected that it would result in 22 million fewer Americans with insurance by 2026 than under current law. Delays in the past week gave opponents of the bill more time to protest over the July 4th recess and again this week due to Arizona Republican Senator John McCain's surgery. Inside the West Wing, Pence and Trump advisors continued to operate as if passage was possible, regardless of the unsuccessful turn in Providence. When the dinner convened Monday, Pence was scheduled to dine at his residence later that week with undecided Republicans. Regardless of the negative feedback, the White House believed that the NGA meetings went as well as they could have expected, considering that the governors were expected to be clamoring for more federal money than the bill would provide. Pence and Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price, both former House members, teamed up on the call list, wooing Sunday and Monday by phone. Among the members who were being monitored closely by Pence was Senator Mike Lee, Republican Utah. According to a person familiar with the negotiations, in multiple discussions with Pence, Lee indicated that he had reservations but was not a firm no and was open to further talks. But it was Lee and Senator Jerry Moran, Republican Kansas, who ended up announcing their opposition on Monday night as Pence and Trump dined with other lawmakers at the White House. A final vivid reminder of how the rosy view among many senior Republicans, rarely if ever, tracked with the actual state of play. Lee and Moran made it 4 Republican no votes. They joined Senator Rand Paul, Kentucky, and Collins, who had declared their opposition days earlier. With a 52-seat majority, Republicans could afford to lose only 2 votes to pass the bill since all 46 Democrats and 2 independents were expected to vote against the proposal, with Pence as the potential tiebreaker. One sign that the White House and McConnell didn't see it coming: the senators who were in the Blue Room on Monday night. They were not holdouts, but mostly heavyweights of the Republican leadership. Senators John Cornyn, Texas, Lamar Alexander, Tennessee, and Roy Blunt, Missouri, among others. Trump, impatient with the Senate's glacial pace, asked for a candid assessment of the legislation's status from the veteran lawmakers, according to officials familiar with the meeting. He implored them to hurry up and get the bill to his desk. But it was Paris and the flag-waving festivities he had witnessed alongside French President Emmanuel Macron on Thursday and Friday that occupied much of his attention during the conversation, the official said. As difficult as the healthcare debate has been, there was a pervasive feeling that McConnell would somehow prevail. I wouldn't put it on him, Senator Marco Rubio, Republican Florida, said on Tuesday about Trump. The bottom line is there are members here who understand the president's preference and were willing to vote against it anyways. Some Senate Republicans said McConnell's strategy of working an inside game and largely leaving Trump to observer cheerleader status was misguided from the start. Senator Ron Johnson, Republican Wisconsin, said the public should have been far more informed about the bill. We didn't have the courage to lay out exactly what caused premiums to increase, Johnson said. We don't even have the CBO score on this latest version. It's an insane process. If you don't have information, how can you even have a legitimate discussion and debate? Tuesday brought more tension. There was finger-pointing and faction-forming as Pence and White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus worked to repair relationships with senators, many of whom saw the president and his team as perhaps well-intentioned but fumbling in their understanding of Congress. During a Senate lunch when McConnell broached voting Wednesday on a bill that would simply repeal Obamacare, he was met with resistance, according to aides familiar with the meeting. McConnell had speakers lined up to support it.